Interestingly, we haven't seen the indictments yet. There's been some time lag. I suppose it will take some time to go through all the forensic, evidence. But
you can't take your foot off for that. Oh, I'm talking about for life.
The world stopped spinning for a split second the moment DC Young Fly dropped that blurred clip onto the internet. No filter, no warning, just a video that hit the timeline like a flash grenade. He didn't even need high res. The footage was so smeared it looked like it had been run through 100 lawyers' hands. But it didn't matter. According to the legions of online detectives, that marble, that chandelier, that echo in the room, everyone swore it was Rick Ross's estate. And right there in the middle of the hazy mess, figures swirling under suds and strange lighting, DC Young Fly's voice rang out. That's Rose. That's the soap party. You see it. We watched, jaws dropping as the speculation lit up. Screens everywhere froze on frames. TikTokers took wild guesses about body shapes and jewelry. The Twitter hive mind argued over the exact shade of marble. Even if we couldn't see faces, what we could feel was a jolt. Because DC wasn't just naming names. He was detonating a powder keg tied directly to Diddy's secret gatherings, just as the trial of the decade was ready to drag every dirty secret into the daylight.
This is the flight where Diddy said to her,
showed her the video, showed her the freak-off video.
He showed her a video of a freak-off that she participated in and said, if you don't participate in another freak-off when we get to New York, I'm gonna put this video out. I'm gonna send it to your mother.
And that's coercion.
She testified to that.
If the jury
believed her, that's coercion.
Let's not pretend the timing was a coincidence. As this new feud went nuclear online, federal prosecutors in New York were lining up evidence against Diddy for what they called racketeering, forced labor, and orchestrated freak-offs. We've read the filings, watched the indictments pile up. Not just wild rumors, but courtroom reality now. It's right there in black and white. Days-long sessions inside mansions where men and women were allegedly induced into marathon performances. The kind nobody walks away from untouched. Some participants had to be revived with intravenous fluids, so exhausted from the chaos, their bodies barely holding up. Forget Hollywood myth, prosecutors say it's all on tape. The accusations run from financial coercion to chilling physical threats, all wrapped up in that velvet rope of celebrity protection. They allege phones were snatched, NDs shoved into trembling hands, and that every person who crossed those thresholds knew they were walking into a silence deeper than money. The blurred video in this context didn't just go viral, it became a threat. If that one clip could surface, how many others existed, and why was Rick Ross, out of everyone, the first to get dragged into focus by DC Young Fly?
I'm sorry, I'm just I'm in this moment right now. This is crazy. Sorry. People don't really know how much what it does to you when something that you love is taken from you and thrown away like it don't even matter, and then they move on with their lives and you're stuck. You're stuck. During those years, you're still stuck 21 years later.
Maybe it's because Diddy's so-called soap parties had become a punchline, until suddenly, the punchline turned sinister. The lawsuits began with Cassie, whose rapid-fire settlement after years of alleged abuse had the whole music business side-eyeing every friendly handshake. But the story didn't stop there. Lawsuits stacked up. 3 more women coming forward. Anonymous John and Jane Doe's, accusations about hidden cameras, hidden rooms, and late-night invitations that nobody could refuse. Federal agents raid Diddy's LA and Miami properties, hauling out what insiders called a warehouse of lubricants and paraphernalia, somewhere near 1,000 bottles if we're trusting the official tally. Industry sources claim that tapes alone could fill a storage unit. So, as DC Young Fly dropped his footage, the internet stopped laughing. The mood shifted from memes to genuine dread. If even a blurred second could tie Rick Ross to the epicenter, the implications went well beyond social media beef. And then there's the Whisper Network, the DM chatter, the friend of a friend stories, the ex-bodyguards spilling just enough to stay relevant but not enough to get sued. We've heard about those parties for years, always with the same cold details, phones surrendered at the door, ND as stricter than any movie set, and male-only gatherings where the regular rules didn't apply. Was it just adult revelry or staged performances for someone's personal archive? We don't have video, and maybe that's the point, but we have patterns. And we have Rick Ross's name, not from a random troll, but from DC Young Fly, who decided to drag his face right through the headlines with actual footage, no matter how pixelated. This wasn't he said, she said in a green room. It was an invitation for the world to speculate. And in the background, the hum of NDA threats, Nervous lawyers and the specter of industry-wide cover-ups kept building. The DC could have posted about any big name. He picked Ross, and suddenly what looked like podcast drama turned into something a lot more radioactive.
So that's just competitive energy.
Competitiveness. All right, so you and Diddy, you and Puff cool?
No, I don't really rock with him
okay,
like that.
damn, all right. I didn't know what that meant. Then.
All right,
okay.
So let's rewind to the moment that first raised eyebrows. We're talking December 2021, the infamous Rick Ross walkout on the 85 South Show. The original story was simple. Ross came in, cracked jokes, sipped from his cup, and then announced he had to use the restroom. The host, DC Youngfly, Chico Bean, Carlos Miller, laughed along, expecting him to come right back. He never did. His team whispered about a flight, but nobody really bought it. The set felt like a crime scene. In the months that followed, the explanations only got weirder. First, Ross claimed he was in the zone, too faded to notice he'd wandered off, telling the Breakfast Club he just eased out after a smoke and a phone call. His words, "I was smoked out, good, I was in the zone." He insisted he meant no disrespect to the hosts, them my little homies, but nobody could shake the feeling something else was at play. The 85 South crew, they went public with their side, pointing out that every other major guest, T.I. Boosie, Busta Rhymes, even Snoop, had sat on that same couch and stayed till the end, check or no check. DC himself even tried to flip it with a joke, offering to buy Ross's Gucci jacket since, as Ross put it, he wore it for no reason.
How did you know to come right back on their with them?
You got to.
Right.
Man, just don't take the foot off the gas at all.
That motherfucker.
Let me use the restroom one time and I'm gonna take this jacket off.
But the drama didn't end with Gucci or chicken wings. Ross's poolside Instagram story set a new record for nonchalance, smirking about analytics, claiming he did the interview for free, and mock demanding lemon pepper wings as payment if they wanted him back. The shade was thick, but it was also a smokescreen. Why was everyone so obsessed with a bathroom break? Maybe because every version of the story made less sense than the last? Was it really just a case of too much party, or was Ross dodging something hotter than tough questions? Especially now that DC Youngfly had dropped a blurred video that, if true, would put Ross's exit in a whole new, far darker light. That's where DC left us, not with answers, but with a smirk and a loaded implication that more tapes could surface if the industry wanted to keep playing games. The timeline held its breath, replaying that pixelated footage, dissecting Ross's every dismissive response, and wondering, was his infamous walkout just another case of rapper eccentricity, or was it the cleanest getaway from something much, much bigger? We're staring down that blurred image, listening to DC Youngfly's laugh echo through every repost, and watching as fans realize this isn't just about hurt feelings or lost jackets. This is a real feud now, a new front, in the battle over who knew, what, and when, and whether Rick Ross just became the first domino to fall.
Wait!
I'm gonna be honest, it's hard for me to answer, and the only reason I'm gonna tell you that is because they all meant so much for different.
Rick Ross never flinched. When the world wanted answers for that infamous 85 South walkout, he played it like a man drifting through a cloud of his own legend. On the Breakfast Club, he smirked, "I was smoked out good, I was in the zone." Rosé just left. The tone said it all. No apology, just the sort of offhand bravado that can only come from a man who assumes the world revolves around his whims. But the arrogance reached its high water mark when Ross, ensconced poolside in pure luxury, fired up his Instagram story to defend himself. There he was, rippling water in the background, maybe a silk robe in frame, brushing off any suggestion of disrespect. "I came on for free," he told fans. Roz had some other things to do too. He even managed to make his wardrobe a headline. "Wasted my time by wearing a Gucci jacket. If you want him back, make sure the lemon pepper wings are ready." The effect was pure power move. Ross above the noise, above the accusations, treating the scandal like it was just another day in paradise. Meanwhile, the temperature online kept rising. DC Youngfly didn't let it ride. His response crackled with the energy of a battle-round voice, sharp and relentless. He didn't just defend his own reputation, he torched the entire idea that Ross was some special guest who graced the show as a favor. Boosie did it for free, T.I. do it for free, Snoop Dogg did it for free, Busta Rhymes did it for free. Every name was a shot across the bow, stripping away the glamour of Ross's special treatment and reminding viewers that everyone who sat on that couch showed respect by sticking around. DC didn't just want to set the record straight, he wanted to send a message about how real legends behave. In a single stroke, he flipped Ross's Gucci jacket flex into a punchline, even offering to buy it so he could show his own son the trophy of a guest who walked out. For a moment, it felt like Ross's luxury and DC's hunger were two sides of the same story, one laughing it up in silk, the other keeping score with receipts. But the circus had more than two rings. Lurking just outside the immediate blast zone was 50 Cent, master troll and longtime arch nemesis of both Diddy and Rick Ross. 50 has made an art of turning scandal into ammunition. Every time new allegations or whispers about Diddy's parties surfaced, he was there, stoking the fire with posts that sliced deeper than any diss track. He's dragged Ross before for his controversial lyrics, posting reminders of that old line about spiking a woman's drink, and pairing Ross's face with Diddy's in meme after meme. 50 wasn't just throwing shade, he was binding Ross to Diddy's growing legal storm with a digital chain, reminding everyone that loyalty in the music industry can be a dangerous look when prosecutors are sniffing around for co-conspirators. Every time 50 posted, it wasn't just a beef, it was a warning shot that reputations can fall in clusters, and nobody's name is too big to end up trending for all the wrong reasons.
There is a partial verdict in the Diddy case after 2 days. The jury has reached unanimous decisions on 4 of the 5 counts. The problem is that 5th count means that we don't get to find out what the verdicts are on the other 4 because they are hung up on...
For years, the rivalry between Rick Ross and 50 Cent has functioned like a pressure valve for the entire industry, hissing every time one of them finds fresh dirt to fling. This isn't just musical sparring, it's a battle for psychological dominance, with both men maneuvering in and out of legal landmines and public humiliation. 50's playbook often involved throwing Ross's music sales under the bus, ridiculing the numbers when too good to be true, with Meek Mill charted lower than expected, making sure the world knew that even the biggest boss could flop when the audience chose to look away. But Ross always countered, painting 50 as an empire in decline, quick to remind everyone of that bankruptcy filing and whispering about business deals gone sideways. Their feud became a chessboard where the stakes were reputations and every move was designed to make the other flinch in front of the cameras.
I thought he was this clean businessman who rise to the top because he was such a powerful and, smart, educated man. I had no idea that he had this other side to him. And when I started to get exposed to his lifestyle, I started to really realize, this guy has an addiction. It's not just, once every few weeks, it's every day, every hour.
What made this feud especially toxic was how quickly both men learned to leverage scandals outside of themselves. Whenever Diddy's name trended for the wrong reasons, 50 pounced, stitching Ross into the conversation with memes and sly insinuations. He'd resurrect Ross's old lyrics, the ones that haunted him, and pair them with news headlines about Diddy's legal disasters, making the audience squirm at the association. Ross, for his part, never missed a chance to throw shade back, latching onto any accusation floating in 50's orbit and reworking it into his own arsenal. It was a dance of deflection. If the world was focused on one man's scandal, maybe they'd ignore the others. Each knew that the real battle wasn't over album sales or radio hits anymore, but over who could keep the public spotlight burning on their opponent, just long enough for the smoke to clear from their own end.
And what's really going to be interesting is the parade of celebrities who we expect to be mentioned and or called into that courtroom. People who we hadn't heard about prior, like Mike Myers, Austin Powers, Mike Myers. Why is he getting called? Why is he on the witness list? That'll be fascinating. And then, of course, there are the no-name, quote unquote, women who are going to have to find every ounce of courage they have.
The public has always loved a clash of titans, but what's different here is how both Ross and 50 have blurred the lines between personal vendetta and calculated distraction. It's never quite clear when they're genuinely angry and when they're simply moving chess pieces, using outrage as a shield against scrutiny. The cycle is relentless. 50 weaponizes every rumor about Ross's loyalty, his financials, his past, while Ross seizes every chance to needle 50 about lawsuits, business feuds, and tabloid scandals. Both men are locked in a kind of mutually assured destruction, one that feeds off the chaos and rewards whoever controls the narrative, even if just for a day. The result is a rivalry where neither man can ever afford to blink first, and the stakes only get higher with every new wave of allegations crashing into the headlines. What's most chilling is the sense that neither Ross nor 50 actually want full transparency, at least not if it means losing control of the narrative. With each new accusation, they test the boundaries, leaking just enough to implicate the other while holding back the worst for leverage. This latest chapter, Ross's name woven into the soap party saga, 50A amplifying every rumor and stoking every suspicion, feels like just another round in a much bigger war. They drag each other into the mud, not always to expose the truth, but to ensure nobody's reputation is ever fully clean. It raises a disquieting question. How much of what we see is just what they want us to see, and what's left lurking in the vaults, too damaging even for enemies to use? In the end, the spectacle isn't just about Diddy's trial or a single blurred video. It's about a decade of shadow games, with Ross and 50 treating scandal itself as a weapon. They know how to keep the audience addicted to outrage, letting us believe we're seeing it all, while the real tapes, whatever they may show, remain under lock and key. We're left to wonder whether these public battles are a distraction, a performance to keep us talking while the deepest secrets stay buried between rivals who, for all their differences, understand each other better than anyone else in the game.
U.S. attorney, what you want you want the best attorneys you can have in there, and it really, I know you want to, like we said, appearances matter, but you want to win this case, and you need, like you said, it's harder.
The industry felt the tremors. Suddenly, the threat of blurred footage wasn't just an internet gag, it was a legal crisis. Attorneys got busy, cease and desists flew through email inboxes, cryptic warnings surfaced on fan forums, and NDAs became both sword and shield for anyone who'd ever crossed a certain threshold. We saw reports of frantic content takedowns. Anonymous sources claimed that teams representing high-profile artists had reached out to major platforms, threatening action if compromising clips made it past the first repost. A strange paranoia gripped the industry, because if one pixelated video could cause this much chaos, what would happen if the rest leaked? Fans became amateur detectives overnight, scouring TikTok for timestamp clues, matching aerial shots from real estate sites to interior frames in the video, combing flight records for possible links, and Reddit threads ballooned with speculation. Some users insisted they'd found distinctive art pieces, others claimed insider knowledge about party guest lists. Even insiders started to hedge, with one well-connected veteran warning, if more tapes are out there, nobody's safe, not just Ross, as the public spectacle started twisting in on itself. Every time DC Young Fly so much as hinted about having more material, the online obsession grew. His followers demanded to know, was this just a warning shot, or did he have the kind of unblurred evidence that could detonate careers? The legal world paid attention too. Prosecutors working the Diddy case had already teased that the circle of implicated names would widen. We have more tapes, more evidence, more names than anyone expects, one official hinted to reporters. That was all it took? The fear of exposure became more powerful than the actual leaks. Suddenly, every rumor, every DM from a source, every frantic denial started to look like another brick in a wall of secrets waiting to fall. Artists with nothing to hide still started lawyering up, and those with history started looking for the exit.
A lot of times you'd have him with a younger female, and there's a power dynamic there. A more impressionable girl is easier to reel in. Consent is between the people that are engaging, and I wasn't there in these situations to understand the consent.
And that brings us right back to the heart of this slow-motion explosion. DC Young Fly, grinning like a man who knows he's got more cards to play, left his latest post hanging. What if the world hasn't seen anything yet? The blurred footage, just the overture. With Diddy's trial looming and the feds all but promising the names of more guests and more tapes, the sense of dread doesn't just haunt Rick Ross. It hangs over the entire celebrity ecosystem. Anyone who's ever RSVP'd, anyone who's ever signed an NDA, anyone who's ever thought they could laugh scandals off from a poolside throne.
Bro, this is our world, you know?
Yeah.
We can do what we want with our money.
So the question for all of us is simple. If DC pulls out unblurred receipts, whose careers are we going to watch collapse in real time? Who do you think gets exposed next if those tapes see the light? Drop your wildest theory in the comments and stay locked, because in this game, the only guarantee is that nobody's untouchable. This is your backstage pass to the scandal, so don't blink now. We'll catch you in the next round of secrets. Stay safe, stay curious, and keep those eyes wide open.